Our next guest wants young readers to experience the delights of the beach through the eyes of a child and through God. Joining us from Miami, Florida is author Dominique Okonkwo with her latest children's book, God of Wonders. Dominique, welcome back to CFN Live. It's so good to see you.
Thank you for having me again.
Well, you were such a pleasure the last time, and I want to start off by saying you're a mom of three, and I remember the last time that we spoke about your other book, you said your kids are the inspiration of why you love to write faith-based books and everything. Tell
Yes.
us about that, journey and, and this mission of yours.
Yeah, I mean, we're in 2026, and it's funny because I started this journey during COVID, and you look around, and there was just people were so sad. There was inspiration needed, and I was reading the same books to my children over and over again, and I could tell, I could see the boredom. They wanted some new, fresh material, and I said, how do we combine the God's word with practical lessons that children can walk away with and remember for the rest of their lives? And so that's how I started to write. And this is my sixth book since then. I'm so grateful to be able to write these stories for kids. And so I'm so excited about this latest work, God of Wonders, because I've been chewing on this concept for a very long time.
Yeah, so let's talk about the book because it's so sweet and it ties in nature and the beach and, obviously God's creation and everything. So walk us kind of through this book and the idea behind it.
Yeah, I mean, you had it there. The book opens up with through the beginning of the world, we could see God's incredible nature through his wonders, the invisible qualities of the earth, the land, and the sky. And so it's like God has put these things on the planet for us to enjoy, and he's sharing himself with us each and every day. And so growing up in South Florida and traveling throughout, the state to all the different beaches, I remember as a child just picking up seashells and seeing fish in the water and looking at all the different types of seaweed and seeing crabs coming out of the sand and just trying to understand like where is my place in all of this and what all of this means, and really just enjoying them, picking up the shells, taking them home. I still have a little collection of sand dollars and seashells. And it's a beautiful thing to realize that God has placed all these things on this planet for us to enjoy. These are his creations, just like we are his creations. And so the book, I wanted to seamlessly blend God's wonders and science because they work hand in hand. So in addition to the story, which is a young boy just trying to uncover as many wonders as he can, God's wonders, in the back of the book, there are some did you know facts that blend both science and God's wonders. And so it talks about why hermit crabs are the great recyclers and why they change their shells. And it talks about the importance of having the seaweed in the beach. And it talks about why the sea doesn't engulf the earth. And so it was fun trying to break this down into a concept that a 4-year-old, a 7-year-old, 8-year-old can understand. And I'm so grateful for just being able to put this together in a lovely package and share this with kids, all over the world.
I have to say that I learned a lot too, as a grown up about, the purpose. Like, wow, I always wondered about the seaweed, and God has a purpose for, the seaweed and how it, helps the fish and everything. And I will say too, especially for kids, the rhyming and the illustrations, your illustrations in your books are just adorable.
Yeah, I think the illustration is so important because, especially before the kid starts to read on their own, that's what gravitates them to the book. And I wanted this, we're talking about God's wonder. So I wanted the pages to be rich with color and just your eyes being able to catch all the things. When I have my school visits, I ask them to count how many sand dollars did they see in the pages, just to keep them actively watching with their eyes and listening with their ears. Also, with the book, you have the kids' senses, sight and touch and smell and sound and all of these things because we know that children learn in different ways. Some are they need a voice. Some are visual learners. And so I just wanted to make sure, knowing as a mom of three that my three kids are completely different, that there was something in this book for everyone. And I'm excited that, we launched yesterday. And so just to get the feedback so far and reviews has just been a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I love, and I do love the did you know, facts in the back and everything. That's such a smart thing to do at the end, just kind of be like, wow, that's amazing. We had you on previously for your book, No Greater Love, which was just such a wonderful book. How has the feedback been since then of that book and the success of it? Because I know it's been super successful.
Yeah, the No Greater Love is such a touching story of God's love for us, but represented in a family. And, we see her interacting throughout her day with both parents, and the way that it ends with them all together sitting by the fire and singing songs of praise. And so I say that this book, with featuring that little girl and this book featuring this little boy, pair so nicely together, because we have one that they both talk about God's love in different ways. One is really extremely heartfelt, and very like internal, and the other one is also, you can see God's love, but externally, and you can learn a lot from both. And so these two books are great companions. And I see them in Easter baskets, the No Greater Love, for February, the month of love. And now that we're approaching spring and summer, I know that kids are going to really appreciate God of Wonders, because I could see them now tasking themselves to say, okay, when I go out, and it says it in the book at the end, when you go out, look for yourself and you'll see God's wonders. And so I'd love for kids to learn how to put their faith in action. And that's my goal when I write these books for kids.
Yeah, I could definitely see, a kid reading God of Wonders and then going to the beach and Jen's like the tangibility of it, where they're picking up a seashell or the seaweed or digging their feet into the sand and being like, I remember what the book said about why God did this, and wow, this is
Mhm.
amazing, and everything. And I love the fact, yeah, get these for the Easter baskets, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
They
So,
fit in there nicely.
but while we wrap this up and everything, what other projects are you working on? And, what are some things that we can look forward to you, doing?
The kids inspire me so much. I did write a couple other stories, one on the names of God, because I was asked a question on how many names does God have. So that's a book that's already been written. I've written a book about rainbows and the importance of them. It's a story of the clouds, storm clouds, and the rainbows, and it's a beautiful way to illustrate to God again, to kids, God's love for us, because we understand as adults why there's a rainbow. He promises never to flood the earth again. So how do you break that down for a child? I've also written a middle grade novel. So I'm just, I'm inspired by them as they grow. I have one that's graduating. I can't believe it.
Wow.
This year. And so, but then there's two others that, continue to challenge me, and I continue to love up on them. And as things happen, I take notes. And so I do encourage everyone to just continue to follow me on social platforms at DOK Writes, or on my website, dominiqueokonkwo.com. I also send out a newsletter. I did one on the Daniel fast a couple years ago that's had a lot of traction. And so the point is to just really teach and educate through our faith, and helping kids understand that no matter how young they are, they can exercise that faith in action, and knowing that, God is there and he cares for us.
Yeah. And
So that's the goal.
you are doing that, Dominique. Absolutely. Well, the book, God of Wonders, is out right now. Everybody can pick up a copy. Dominique, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure having you on.
Yes, likewise. Thank you.